Vegan advocacy and outreach really requires a lot of us. We basically have to appeal directly to oppressors in a lot of ways. But maybe this is a harmful context. It does bring me pain to essentially, navigate the entitlements and feelings of people who are committed to oppressing others, who are committed to violence. It's interesting, like, it's our task as animal activists to accurately describe what's happening as, an animal holocaust, the holocaust of nature, as a fascism against our planet and the life on it. It's really difficult to hold that like the violation of a body it is harmful. It's difficult to hold that truth and that reality and hold the space for the victim while looking a perpetrator or someone who is culpable in the face and connect with them directly. It's really difficult, to see a human as just a person, while you are contending with the violence that they're committed to, that they're perpetrating, that you're addressing, really. It's difficult. It's hard. It's really not easy for us. I don't think there is an analogy like this in other ways. And if there is, like, if there are human issues and human, like, liberations that have happened where this specific interaction has been the case, please share them with me because I want to learn from them. But I really am I'm really just talking here about, like, this kind of, you really need to go directly to the person perpetuating. It's like going straight up to the abuser, straight up to the oil miner, straight up to the person who is invested in the harm, invested in the violence, who is motivated to destroy. Going straight up to their face and trying to appeal to them. It's really difficult. It really is hard. It's necessary. Like, there's no other way for us to do it. Like, as vegan activists, we cannot employ violence. It's not on the table for us. Like, first of all, personally, I understand violence is the means to its own end. The same goes for nonviolent confrontation, nonviolent remediation, and conflict resolution. You're just not going to change society by force. It's not going to happen. And what's something that's really actually inspired me with Insurrectionary Ecology, it's a zine that I distribute. Insurrectionary Ecology, it's free online, distributed by the Warzone distro. This person who wrote the zine has saved a lot of really interesting ideas from the Earth First Do or Die journals. And one thing very in particular that they say about the environmental movement, how we're going to really reorient towards basic concern for our Earth systems. It's got to be a completely free and consensual choice. People have to choose to care about the planet more than profit. They just do. Regardless, like, the people who are doing the logging, the people who are in the slaughterhouses, the people who are moving the animals, the people who are moving the oil, the people who are cutting the trees, the people who are eating the bodies, they have to choose to no longer participate in that. I wonder what other people think of this, because it's something that really heavily impacts me, kind of contending with that. And I move around. I'm like, I will educate you. Let's talk about it. Let's make a conversation. Because maybe if you know that it's rape, maybe if you know that there's a victim, maybe if you're made aware of that, because the cognitive dissonance is intentionally ingrained into our society. Firstly, it's embedded into fascism. The cognitive dissonance is embedded into fascism. It's part of the mechanism that it operates on, like a logical mechanism. It's necessary for you to be irrational. It's necessary for you to have blind spots through cognitive dissonance in order to carry out these violences that result in things like the climate collapse. I feel that if I just approach them with the intention and the strategy to lessen the cognitive dissonance, to resolve some of that irrationality, to approach them to in any way. I feel that it would change things for them. But people will approach it with this. They approach it with the thought termination already. I'm just gonna do it. Is the worst one. I'm just gonna do it is worse than I don't care, because as a woman myself, I know that producing care is part of societal makeup. Like, even if you don't produce care, I potentially could produce the right care to make you have the connection anyways, or to provide you the connection anyways. But so it's honestly, it is layered. The choice to not produce care about something, like, it's sort of like how people are really cool with like ignoring babies crying now. They choose not to produce care. It's an abandonment of the obligation, of the responsibility that we have as a community and a society. It's kind of funny. A couple days ago, I was like, maybe humans have a chance. Like, there's a lot of us now in a very short time period, and there's a lot of war, but we're getting pretty good at processing trauma, and I do think that's true. I do think we are getting pretty good at processing and eliminating generational trauma. I don't know if we're going to be like able to accurately appeal. Maybe some part of it is like, if I'm appealing to a human supremacist, there's something about my mindset that's reinforcing the human supremacy in them. But honestly, like, I think that I've been doing like a lot of like self-analyzation, like, what can I do differently? How can I change things in my approach that will result in less murders, slaughters, and rapes? But it's hard. It's hard. On one hand, maybe if there is something I'm doing wrong, I can solve that and be more effective to end this kind of suffering, more effective in my outreach, so that people aren't fascists, they decolonize and deconstruct that human supremacy in themselves, so that we can all make it, through climate catastrophe as a actual cooperative community. But I'm nervous. Like, I can't cooperate with someone who is fascist. I can't cooperate with them. It does not work, because I refuse to engage in irrational thought, like logical breakdowns. It's consistent to say that indigenous peoples make mistakes and do bad things. That's one of the terminating cliches that human supremacist fascism upholds, is that if you're a minority, it's okay for you to slaughter animals and it's okay for you to aggress on their bodies. They don't say that second part out loud, but that is what they're doing. They say, but I'm marginalized, so I can't. Or they say, worse one even, is whenever they're like, oh, but what about these imaginary marginalized people that I'm going to use against you in this conversation to justify the rape, slaughter, and enslavement of all life on the earth? It doesn't work. It's logically consistent for me to say, yeah, indigenous people can make mistakes and they can be wrong, and it's never okay to aggress on a body. That's consistent. That's consistent also with the idea that we can't, pollute a river for our own purposes. That body of water exists for its own. It exists on its own, in its own, with its own life that inherently arises from the condition of being a river that it's entitled to. Right? Just like I'm entitled to the sovereignty of my body, just like a pig is entitled to the sovereignty of her body, because it has it, because it can experience the aggression, because a river can die, we have the obligation to not kill it. Like, I feel like these things are really consistent. I'm constantly putting myself on the gauntlet to make sure that I'm not fucking up, but it's difficult. It's difficult when you really do, like, and I don't have anyone else. I have to depend on the humans in my community to abandon fascism. I do depend on that. I can't just walk away. People are not disposable. I'm not disposable. This community's not disposable. There's no alternative. I have to do my best. I have to make them see, and I don't know what to do. I really don't know what to do. There's no comparable situation, I feel like. and I just don't really know what the next step is. I feel like a lot of vegan activists are not to the point I am yet either. You know, a lot of our biocentric knowledge is gone. Our biocentric knowledge has been genocided out. When we killed all the indigenous people, that killed so much of this technology. And thankfully, like this historical accumulation of technology, Bill Mollison really repopularized and preserved a lot of the sciences whenever he coined the word permaculture. And there's still a lot, for us to know, but the marriage between, okay, climate collapse and the injustice of fascism against non-humans is inherently and inextricably linked, and it's also completely invisible. Like, the fact that animal agriculture is the main driver of climate change is never reported on, ever. 5%. 5% of any article that's about climate change is ever going to mention animal agriculture, if it even gives an accurate description of, like, the actual, like, links there. It's really, it's a lot. And I guess I'm telling the internet because there's not really anybody in person that I feel like I that I feel like I could just spout this into, and maybe they receive it. Like, I don't know what to do. I feel abandoned, by the rest of my community. Like, any person who's here who is not respectful of non-human life, like, just on a baseline, just like, hey, that's someone else. Like you walk down the neighborhood and you see other humans, it's never an option for you to dismember them. That doesn't come into your brain like that. And that's where we're at with all the rest of non-human life. That's literally where it's at, and that includes flora, that includes trees and plants in biodiverse regions that are the systems that are not animals. Like, it's just a given that everyone is prone to being aggressed on. Everybody is a target of violence. Everyone is a target of human violence. And that's why it's really difficult for me. Like, it's really difficult. Like, I can't feel safe around people who intentionally and knowingly aggress on the bodies of others and justify it as a victim of organized rape. Like, it's and as a vegan, like, I can see it and I have felt it, and I feel like it's a little bit difficult because maybe me saying that has, like, removed your empathy for me a little bit, like, because you don't know what that's like. And I feel like you shouldn't have to know what that's like in order to recognize it either. Like, I wouldn't wish this feeling, any negative feeling that I have, I don't wish it on anybody. And I don't want any activist that I have ever spoken to ever feel as ostracized and as ignored and as devalued as I do with the other activists in my community that I show up for, that I support, that I agree with. I don't know if we're gonna make it. Like, I genuinely feel like and I'm sticky, and what actually really what does give me hope, though, is, like, I understand that veganism must be a pacifist movement. Like, we're gonna need to abolish war eventually at any point, and I think that war and the complete dismemberment and disfigurement of all non-human life, the devaluing of life and war, are related in such a way that perhaps everything really will happen at once. We can evolve past human supremacy and all forms of fascism. We can evolve past all forms of rape and all forms of pollution. And maybe it will just be inherently pacifist. Like, there's so many ways to interact and exist and cooperate that have nothing to do with violence and exist entirely outside of violence, and we really just have to, like, break through this wall of suffering and pain and death to get there. It's not easy. I still don't know. I don't know anything. All I do is, like, pass out info and then do my best to reach people. Even people that are vegan, are often kind of blind to a lot of the ways that veganism and biocentrism are married, because we've been so alienated from nature. I don't know. If this resonated with you, say something, or don't. I But maybe this meant something to somebody.